get you on here today. I've taken a bit of a crack at a little bit of podcasting, interviewing type stuff in recent, and this is kind of a chance to step back into the booth and talk to some local talent, local hockey players. Of course, you coming before me, and now me, still fortunate enough to be playing. I want to first bring up your book, which I've got right here. Let's get that in. I was flipping some pages and I had a few laughs. It's so cool to read and be able to so vividly see the things that you're speaking of in relation to Dryden, Ontario, Pat Morris, Milestone Rink, etc. like that. But so just when you see the cover journeyman, the many triumphs and even more numerous defeats of a guy who's seen just about everything in the game of hockey.
The title was my idea, mine and Dan Murphy's, but the editor added all that into it to make it, I don't know. I'm not sure what the reason, because I thought simple is better, but apparently not. So yeah, sure, it's a good description.
In the book, you outline very clearly a lot of funny stories, a lot of tough stories, the grind of playing in the minors and stuff like that. But what I first want to ask you about are your career highlights. What stands out for you immediately when you think on your career?
Getting drafted was a thrill, even though that was a bit of a cluster actually getting to to get my jersey. But to be there and get drafted was really cool. Just remember my dad and I driving. I think we drove in from Toronto to Buffalo, and just to have literally no idea what we're doing, and just get our hotel ourselves, and then get to the rink ourselves, get to where the draft is, walk in like all the other paying customers, and just walk in. And I'd interviewed with one team prior to the draft, which was Vancouver. So that was the team I thought, okay, well, if we're gonna get drafted, it would be them. And they knew, because they interviewed me the day before, so they knew I was there. So when they called my name and they're waiting to where is this guy? He's here somewhere. And I was in the complete wrong, I was in the lower bowl. I was up in the next, with all the fans. I literally had to negotiate with the security guard to get down to the floor, because he's like, well, you should be sitting here. I go, yeah, I should be doing a lot of things, buddy, but I didn't. So just let me down there. So I can't remember how many other draft picks went ahead of me when it was pitcher time. That's how long it took me to get down there. But I'd say getting drafted, then first NHL game. Actually, probably check that. I would say first NHL contract was pretty cool. I was in the East Coast League. It was during the lockout of the '94 lockout. Everybody got kind of pushed down a league, and so I started in the East Coast League. And I think you've played there, right? Have you played in the East Coast League?
I have,
yeah. It's a lot better hockey than I anticipated, but it's really, you can get stuck down there and never get out. And I was just lucky that there was a lack of hockey for scouts to watch, and happened to be an Anaheim Ducks scout, or actually was the GM, in the stands one game and saw me play. And so when the lockout ended, I was fortunate enough to sign a contract. So that was fun. And then obviously first NHL game was, just kind of, all I wanted was to say I played in the NHL. That was the initial goal. And when I finally did that, I'm like, okay, well, I want more now. But it was kind of a relief to kind of come full circle, because I had a tough first year pro with, getting sent to the East Coast League, then getting my jaw broken and getting my car stolen. And yeah, it was a very trying rookie year for me. But then to get literally within 6 months of that, to get called up and play in the NHL was pretty special. And then to get to play in Maple Leaf Gardens for my third NHL game was awesome. It was Hockey Night in Canada, so I knew all the boys were watching. Not that I was going to do anything special, but I was at least out there, so that was cool. And then I'd say first playoff game, series we played when I was with Anaheim, we played Phoenix. And then just, I guess the real highlights were just the people I met along the way, and all the great teammates and players and stars that I got a chance to play with, but also the people that you never heard of. Some of the players that just kind of are part of a team, and, they don't get the fanfare, but, are amazing people. So as you probably know, you've met them, hockey guys are just good dudes. And so it's just amazing, when you look back and on a career and all the different people you met, the different characters, is kind of really fun. As you know, everybody could write a book, because everybody kind of goes through a whole bunch of different things along the way.
Tell me about some of your memories growing up in Dryden playing hockey, and maybe some of the coaches, volunteers, and the people around you as you were growing up as a youngster.
Still to this day, some of my fondest memories are at the Dryden Arena in Dryden, with all the boys playing, whether it's street hockey or playing hockey at Milestone. But the rink has a special place just because you know, when I don't know how it is now, but I know back then it was just so exciting, like for a hockey tournament, whatever, like whether you're playing it or not, obviously way better when you're playing, but just to go down there, you get the whole weekend, you're, you know, young, you go down there, like we used to shoot hockey cards in the bathroom and those types of things. And just like we're rink rats, we just hung out there, public skating on Friday nights. Then we do, you know, like if there was a day off of school, like pay and play. It was always a thrill to be able to just go and skate. And you know, I just, the smells. I remember what it smelled like. I remember like the crispness in the air when the Zamboni just got off. Remember going to watch Marnie's brother Ole play for the Texaco Hawks, and that was always a thrill to go for those games and watch those guys play. Even though they weren't, I mean, now, you know, they're not much older than me now, but back then they were, you know, whatever, 5, 6, 7 years older. So it was always like kind of fun to go to the rink and watch them. And, you know, it'd be, you know, we'd all go, all the boys, you know, we got Matani and my brother and Roll and Cummings, and we'd go. And then the next day we'd meet up and play, you know, street hockey or on the outdoor rink at Milestone all day. And, you know, those are still my best memories of as a kid, is just kind of just playing because you loved it, not because you're like, oh, I'm going to work on my stick hand. It was like, we're just out there because we want to be out there. And then, you know, as you get older, it was fun because then we'd like work on our fighting. You know, we'd have the big skidoo mitts and just bombing each other in the face. Some guys had braces, like Chris Hancock's another guy. I almost forgot him, but yeah, he had braces and he took a beating. Like his lips were like a hamburger meat after every time, but he kept coming back for more. And then we work on our hitting into the snowbank, and I don't know. They're great memories growing up in Dryden, and especially you know, around hockey. And it's a good reminder, especially when you're a pro, because like you are paying your bills, and it can easily like be all encompassing, and you can like crumble underneath the pressure of it if you just forget that it's still a game and you still got to have fun doing it. Because you know, the best hockey I'm sure that you play or that I played is when I'm loose and having a good time and not worrying about, you know, how am I going to pay my bills if I get cut or whatever it is, you know. So it's yeah, it's a good reminder, I think, for everybody. And you know, and just watching how hockey is now with the youth, and I feel like they're under a lot more pressure than we were when we were growing up. And it's just, you know, I hate to see the joy of the game taken away because of whatever outside pressures are on them to perform. As far as how hockey prepared, I would say, I think especially given my career, it's taught me to be resilient. I don't know if resilience is the right word, but just to kind of like focus on what I can control, because there's a lot of stuff out there, as you know, like there's just things you can't control. And so to waste time and energy on it is pointless. So like sometimes, you know, like I've worked through the global financial crisis, and that's when I first started in the kind of financial world. And luckily I was just oblivious because I didn't know any better, but there were people that were so like stressed out. I mean, it was a scary time if I would have known it. But, you know, I just kept focusing on what I needed to do and it kind of helped me get through. And, you know, when you're literally living day to day, like, you know, when you're a pro, like when I was in the NHL, I was sent down, like, you know, one bad game, one bad shift, and it could be, you know, one bad shift, you're on the bench, and then it's like, okay, well, you need somebody that's going to play, and so you could be gone to the minors. And so you just learn to kind of put all that stuff aside and focus on what you can control.
And so where are you now, and how did hockey help you get there?
Yeah, great question. I am currently living in Newport Beach, California. I think hockey helped me get here I got a college degree from the U.S., which helped me get a immigration status where I could live in the U.S. after I was done playing. And then as far as Newport Beach, I was fortunate enough to sign with Anaheim, so that's how I got introduced to Southern California. And once I was done kind of my merry-go-round career, decided to give it a shot and move here, and that was 17 years ago. So if it wasn't for hockey, if it wasn't for Dryden, then I certainly wouldn't be living in Newport Beach where I look at the ocean and it's 85 degrees out. So I feel very blessed. I wish my kids could have grown up where I did, just so they could experience kind of the good and the bad, but also, you know, just the good, the people that you kind of interact with because you're kind of all in it together. You know, the weather can be a little challenging in the wintertime, but I think people kind of make the best of it. And it was, I wouldn't change anything that how I grew up. And I think, you know, if you talk to Chris, he would say the same thing, because we had a blast. Like, part of it probably we didn't know any better, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. So I think like a special place in my heart always for you know, the town of Dryden and the people there.
Something that we kind of breezed over, something that kind of gets lost is, I don't know if it's the way it's written or it's the way I've been asking it. But so the question reads, highlights of growing up in Dryden, and then it says coaches, volunteers, players. And so what has happened in these discussions is we start talking about the glory days and the outdoors and the whatever. Do you have any people in mind specifically?
Yeah, I do. I mean, obviously my parents, Jim and Ayla, they were instrumental, and, Chris and I never needed, they got us whatever we needed for set us up for success. So obviously Jim and Ayla were a big part of my career, and also, Chris's career for sure. But some of the coaches, got me to think back on different parts of my minor hockey days. Like Bill French was a coach. He was a beauty. I mean, yeah, he was awesome. I think he came in with a cigarette in his mouth and like just old school. Randy Allen, who still lives in Dryden, he was a big part. He was, I guess he wasn't that much older than us, but he was kind of into hockey and was kind of a good guide for us. And he played at junior level, which was, kind of not many people in Dryden had done that. So he was kind of a really good person, a good resource for us. I think Norm Dizitel was a coach of mine for a couple of years. Actually, I played with Todd, his son. Mike Furlong was a big part of, any success I've had, because he was always, I always feel him in my corner, and he'd played college hockey. So it was always somebody I looked up to, and he coached me for Boise a couple of years. Clyde Toole, same thing. He coached when I was in Boise as well. And then I think I was kind of off to Thunder Bay after that. But there's a few people. Also, the parents of, all the parents of our teammates that helped kind of get you to whatever tournament and get you organized and stuff like that. And then obviously the volunteers, which I don't have everybody's name. And I should mention one other person, which Marnie's brother, Darren Oliphant. He always kind of he certainly had my back. So every time I was in the NHL, there'd magically be a sign up on the Dryden, kind of as they're entering Dryden, to be home of Chris Pronger, and then a smaller sign, Sean Pronger, for whatever team I was on. And then every time I got sent to the minors, that sign just somehow fell off, and so Ole went into the town office and complained about them taking the sign down. Oh my God! So yeah, I Ole, if you're watching this, however this is broadcast, I appreciate you, buddy.
Thank you so much for your time. Always a treat talking about old memories, regardless of who it's with, and to be able to have the honor of getting to speak to the likes of yourself about what we've got in common and what we'll continue to have in common. Very, very special, very grateful. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate all the work. Thank you.